Well, it's obvious now, and honestly, for the Raiders' sake, a pretty good thing. Seems to be showing up that Las Vegas is going to be in the market for a quarterback come draft day. And again, not something I will complain about. Much like I won't complain about you guys' involvement here with Raiders Digest. Appreciate all the love you've been giving us, cracking 1,000 subs and continuing to move onward and upward. We appreciate you getting involved to get us to this point and keep things going forward, not only through the regular season, hey, maybe the postseason, probably not the postseason, but also into draft day. I want to revisit something that came about over the weekend. This was from Jordan Reed. He covers the NCAA draft beat for ESPN. He was at the big Indiana-Oregon game, and he reported that a handful of teams were there in attendance eyeing two quarterbacks, Fernando Mendoza of the Hoosiers and the Oregon side of things, Dante Moore. And of course, of the teams listed, the Raiders. But not only that, they're listed as to having multiple representatives on hand. Two guys right now probably considered, well, Mendoza for sure, probably considered the top overall prospect coming into the NFL draft, if you fast forward all the way to November. Dante Moore, they have him. This is Mike Renner. I like his work over there on the CBS Sports side of things in his most recent mock draft. Dante Moore, they have him in that 12 ballpark. And ironically enough, this conversation about the Raiders potentially taking quarterbacks, he has them going offensive tackle, which again would not be a bad thing over there at number 8. But talking about what the Silver and Black really need, in addition to some line help, is figuring that stuff out at quarterback play. We'll start with Mendoza, a guy who has really familiarized himself to the nation as the Hoosiers continue to, and never thought you'd say this, but Indiana has really become a football state. Saw it in the playoffs a little bit last year. I think you think Indiana football, you think Notre Dame, but certainly not the Hoosiers as well. But he's really turned it on in this season, really taking the helm for IU. And a quick glance at some of the numbers. Obviously, it goes well beyond the numbers, and we'll get into that. Completion percentage, good. Awesome TD to INT ratio. He's a junior, redshirt junior, and a transfer from Cal, and I love the size there, 6'5", 225, and as you saw from Mike Renner's mock right there, he has them going number 1 overall to Cleveland. As for the, I guess, smarter people than myself, the real critical eyes of the guys who keep an eye on things when it comes to these prospects coming out of college and into the league. This is from the Locked On NFL Draft podcast, Dane Parson guy. I'm also a fan of his work as well. This is what he said, that Mendoza has emerged as one of the top quarterbacks in the nation in the class. We know that, but has the build of a traditional pocket passer and a polished passing skill set that translates well to the NFL. He excels in a quick post-snap process and a quick decision maker with the football, and then goes into the Cal history, a 3-star recruit, and since that time, I should say, has really found his own with IU out there in Bloomington. Something to keep an eye on, but the thing with the Raiders, though, as we know, as we've seen the past couple of years, have been bad, but not bad enough to stumble all the way to that number 1 pick. And unless they do so, coming off of a win, it feels like every single win matters in terms of costing them that draft capital. It's just the way it works, right? You lose to Tennessee the other day, and now Tennessee probably has that tiebreaker over you come April. That's just the way it's going to work out after both teams win like 4 games. It's just for the norm. So Mendoza, to introduce you, if you haven't been paying attention, real standout on that front. As for Dante Moore, another Oregon standout quarterback, continuing to do more of the same at this point. Comparable numbers, the TD-INT ratio a little bit off, but very good, very efficient completion percentage. The QBR, not what you saw of Mendoza, that 84.6 that he had comparatively to the just under 70 mark for the Oregon Duck. But again, expanding the thought process beyond what I tell you, because these people know a whole lot more than I do at this point. This is, again, Parson, Locked On NFL podcast, saying that Moore skyrocketed during his first year as a full-time starter and has emerged as their quarterback 2 with potential to be a legitimate franchise quarterback. Mendoza was their quarterback 1. I should throw mention in there. Mentally, he plays with a poise inside the pocket, not easily rattled or thrown off his game. Moore shows his leadership and respect of his teammates on the sidelines that coaches will love. but spent some brief time over there at UCLA. So if you were to, I guess, nitpick and find a flaw in his game, that's what you're looking at. You're looking at a little bit of the inexperience front. So as it pertains to the Raiders, what does all this stuff mean to the Raiders? Well, none of it means anything if, I don't want to say they keep winning and they play themselves out of a top 5 spot, but I don't think that's going to be overly a concern that they're going to turn this thing around and all of a sudden play themselves out of a spot. I want to bring up that top 10 to 12, Renner's top 10 to 12. As you'll see, top 16, I should say, upon further review, that the two we've been talking about, Mendoza and Dante Moore, they have not been the only quarterbacks that they've been talking about. Garrett Nussmeier from LSU firmly in the conversation as well, and John Mateer, Oklahoma. Though having him at number 7, I'm not particularly sure that's going to work out that way. It does. Lenoris Sellers, his stock has fallen from South Carolina. So you're looking in the first round. I know a lot of people have not been particularly blown away, at least on the surface, of the quarterback class, but for me at this point, when I look at what the Raiders need going forward, when I look at what's readily available in front of them, I think this is just a matter of finally, you have to do it. You have to at least get a crack at one of these guys. Admittedly, I'm a sucker for Oregon quarterbacks, so if they fall back into the top 10 or 8 where they had that projected on that mock and Moore is there, I want to see him in silver and black if it's not Mendoza. At number 1, number 2, wherever it may be, because of Bo Nix, Josh Herbert thing, all that. I'm a sucker for that, and I would love to see that translate on the silver and black side of things. But, I think above all else, if things really sour and this team does not win a game the rest of the way, and honestly, there's maybe 2 games that I look at on the surface and I say, you know what, the Raiders are actually better than these guys going forward. This probably is the realistic option, and I like it. I like if it were to work out that way, but I'm probably not telling you anything you don't already know. Who wouldn't want the guy that's probably going to be a Heisman candidate front runner at the end of the season and is the quarterback for the number 3 team in the nation? Not telling you anything, again, that you don't already know. So we'll see. We'll see as things pivot a little bit more as we head to, I was going to say head to draft day, not even head to draft day, excuse me. Head into the midpoint of the season. Of course, Raiders, Kansas City this weekend, going into that bye week, the following after that. 3 and 4 looks a whole lot different compared to 2 and 5. So something to keep in mind if they are able to squeak out a win in Kansas City, which, believe it or not, as it seems, has been very much feasible considering they almost did it last year and then they did it on Christmas the year before that. So again, we'll see how that works out. Not particularly sure, not particularly thrilled on their chances of doing exactly that. But I think at the end of the day, put a bow on things. I think this is the year where you have 4 to 5 quarterbacks that'll be eligible for you in the first round to take that, to do that, to make the move, whether it's Mendoza, Moore, Nussmeier, Sellers. I think they just got to take a crack at one, finally, because I'm tired of playing this run around, try your hand one year at Geno and Jimmy Garoppolo and Minshew. These placeholders don't work. And if they need some kind of sustained success, as we've seen, the only time in the past 20 years that they really have, obviously, was building internally with Derek Carr, who didn't, of course, really blow us off. He had his moments, but, we loved him for what he was and what he wasn't. And I think quarterback is, again, going to be the move come April. But a lot of time to figure that out. The move for you, hit the subscribe button to Raiders Digest. Turn on your notifications if you haven't already. We've enjoyed having you. Enjoyed the dialogue. Season continuing to get good. And a lot to talk about as we near the trade deadline coming up in just a few weeks away, first week of November. So busy times outside the football field for your silver and black as things look a little bit different theoretically going forward.